launch match of the day in 1964, it was the prelude to 30 years of unrivaled football coverage with some stupendous goals.
Green, changing direction so well. Oh, beautiful football. What a great goal. Fabulous goal.
And if the 60s were about Jimmy Greaves, they were also about Bobby Charlton.
Charlton. Oh, what a goal. Oh, what a goal.
A special delivery also from Rodney Marsh.
Again, Marsh. Oh, it's a goal, a great goal. Rodney Marsh has scored. Oh, what a goal.
That was the League Cup final. This was the Charity Shield.
Now, Law. Oh, beautiful body swerve to Kidd. Lord Aston in the middle. And here comes Charlton. Oh, great goal!
Charlton had won the World Cup along with Geoff Hurst and Martin Peters.
Here's Peters, in moves Hurst. Great goal! Hurst. Peters, a goal!
Some of the best team goals came from Everton.
Okay. Ball with Husband on the right wing. Oh, a great goal! A beautiful goal by Royal. What a goal by this 19-year-old Joe Royal.
But Greaves was the master.
Robbed by Perriman, and Greaves has got the whole field. He's got the whole field to himself. He'll have to beat the defender. He's got the goalkeeper now.
The 70s saw Leeds in their prime.
Renman, number 4. Number 10, Giles. Bates. Cooper. A great goal by Cooper.
The black and white days of the 60s produced so many masterpieces that Match of the Day started the colourful 70s with a goal of the season competition.
At the moment, the situation is on for a quick one. Rankin doesn't look too happy about the position of the wall. Hunt! Oh, what a goal! Well, they don't come much better than that. Right out of the book, and on the first line too.
England. Gilzee. Oh, good flick. Pearce. Mullery. Peters, good football by Tottenham. They're being given time, they're taking it. Oh, Perriman. It's Pearce. Perriman! Brilliant!
Radford. Now Tudor's gone down for Newcastle. Radford again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Radford the scorer. Ronnie Radford. And the crowd are invading the pitch. And now it will take some time to clear the field.
Hereford were losing 1-0 when Radford released his guided missile. They went on to win 2-1, and he wrote his name into football folklore.
And we said, like, we would never give up, like, you know, right until the final whistle. And that's what we done, like, we just kept plugging away. We took the game to them, and I think we deserved it, like, you know.
What about the equaliser that you yourself scored?
Well, I saw it as I played a 1-2 with Brian, and I just thought I'd hit it. And it was one of them that either go in or they don't go in, like, you know, and I'm pleased to say it went in, like, you know.
Ronnie's, without a doubt, will win the Goal of the Month award. Definitely. Will win the Goal of the Month award. Fantastic goal.
Let's find out what Ron's two boys thought of that. What did you think of that goal?
All right, very good.
Very good, was it? What did you think about it?
Very good.
Well, there's some praise there from the two boys, anyway.
It always brings back great memories for me. Not just about the goal itself, but about the day and everything that went on.
So take me through it again.
Through the goal? Yeah, fine. Well, I think firstly, Ricky George's contribution it typified Hereford United. He'd just come on, And like always, we always chased lost causes, and I think it was on the left-hand side, Ricky chased a lost cause and actually won the ball, and that started the build-up to the goal. Ken Mallender knocked a long ball into the box. It was cleared, I think, by Bohemian Kerr into central midfield. And then there were me and Colin, who were a bit undecided who to go for it. Colin shouted for it first, and I could see that he wasn't going to get it. So I went and I went into a tackle with John Tudor. And then from that moment on, it was just purely instinct. I turned, I played a 1-2 with Brian Owen. I got my head down and just hit it. And it went like a bullet and finished up in back at net, and we were back in game.
It was important for Hereford because, to be honest, they don't get many footballing headlines, do they?
That's right. At the time, they were pressing for Football League status, and rightly so, because they were a very ambitious club. We had a very ambitious chairman, Frank Miles, and he scouted all over the country to get the very best players to go to Hereford. And we had at that time a lot of good players, a lot of players with a lot of league experience. Fred Potter, Ken Mallender, Tony Goff, and of course Colin Addison had all played a lot of league games. So, you know, the big occasion wasn't quite so daunting as what it would be normally like.
Another FA Cup goal won the BBC award the following season, scored by Peter Osgood for Chelsea against Arsenal in the 6th round at Stamford Bridge.
Block was called, and Hudson heard him. Osgood. Kemba carrying away. Osgood. 1-0.
The goalkeeper given no chance by that shot was Arsenal's Bob Wilson, who later became a BBC football presenter. He was generous to Osgood at the time.
Well, the first goal against me was a picture goal. I mean, I should think that's goal of the month before we start. That's Ozzy. It's, you know, he's without doubt one of the most skillful players in England. I mean, there's no question of that, if not in Europe. And it fell very nicely. I think it was his left foot. But, I mean, from the moment he struck it, from my point of view, you make a gesture. Obviously, you know, you don't stand and watch a ball. And I was moving to my left, but of course it was in the back of the net.
A year later, 1974, the FA Cup again produced a classic volley that was voted goal of the season. Fulham's Alan Mullery was the winner this time, and the goalkeeper he beat was England's Peter Shilton, then with Leicester City.
Comes to Fraser. Lloyd is square. Now Strong. Oh, what a goal by Mullery! Alan Mullery getting Fulham off to a tremendous start. The ball played across, and what a volley!
Goal of the Month now brought thousands of entries from BBC viewers.
So now it's Goal of the Month time and the chance to win £100 worth of premium bonds. The usual rules apply. Each goal has a letter, and we'll give you a chance to check the letters against the goals. First, Goal A, scored by Pat Holland for West Ham against Hereford.
Out come West Ham again. Holland. He's got Tyler with him. And he's beaten him. Holland still in possession. It's there! It's there!
Goal B, scored by Lou Macari for Manchester United against Plymouth.
Oh, and Morgan's round the back this time. That's a good ball. Graham was there, and it was Macari.
Goal C by Bruce Rioch for Aston Villa against Middlesbrough.
Braden. Rioch. Left foot this time.
Goal D by Brian Alderson for Coventry against Manchester City.
Alderson. Atchison coming up. Alderson there. Gotta be. And is.
Goal E by Francis Lee in the same match.
Ball tending now to stick more and more often. Hardly surprisingly. Here's Lee. And he's made it.
Goal F, scored by Dennis Law, again in the same match.
Good play, Towers.
Goal G by Alan Warboys for Bristol Rovers against Bournemouth.
Rudd out to the right, Stanton inside him. Warboys in the area, so is Bannister. And he's done well, and it's in for Warboys.
Goal H by Mick Leach for Queen's Park Rangers against Birmingham.
His bowls could be on, and is for Mick Leach.
Goal I by Don Gibbons in the same match today.
It's Gibbons, that's it.
Goal J by Alan Mullery for Fulham against Leicester.
Viewers had to nominate their top three, a format the BBC was still using successfully on Match of the Day 20 years later.
Well, really it was quite a day in the Cup, and I think you won't disagree with that. But forgive me if I select one particular goal to finish. It was scored by a footballer who played with me about 15 years ago when he first came into the game as a teenager, and he's been a credit to the game ever since. The player, Alan Mullery, and he hasn't scored a better goal.
Neither had Blackpool's Mickey Walsh when he scored in a second division match at Bloomfield Road in 1975.
Kerr. He's been involved in two. Can he make three? Not on this occasion. Well taken by Walsh. Davis is on the far side. Ainscough coming square. That's the ball. That's a good try! What a goal! Oh, what a goal to decide it surely! Oh, Mick Walsh! What a superb goal! He took the crossfield ball well on his chest. A square ball to Ainscough looked his best hope, but instead a fine curling shot that scraped away from Jimmy Montgomery.
When you got the ball, what was in your mind?
Straight for goal, I think, because I knew it was late on, and thought there's not many on cover, so I thought I'll have a go.
Were you aware of what was around you? I mean, Alan Ainscough ran about 20 yards to take up a position to your left.
No, I had no idea it was there. I think it was Monker. I took him on and I thumped it.
That's a good try! What a goal! Oh, what a goal to decide it surely!
Now, it's not the first goal this season you've scored like that, is it?
I got one similar against Norwich.
But I gather with the other foot.
With the other foot. That's right. This one's a bit special with the left foot.
The winning goal in the 1975-76 season was scored on the opening day by the then England captain Jerry Francis, playing for Queen's Park Rangers.
That was well played by Bowles to Francis and Gibbons. Back to Francis, it's a good chance here. Oh, superbly taken by Jerry Francis. Queen's Park Rangers 1, Liverpool 0. A swift, good build-up that by Queen's Park Rangers, carving a hole in the Liverpool defence. Gibbons playing his part, Francis going through for the return, and a sweeter finish you could not wish to see.
Liverpool on the receiving end there, but the following season their midfield man Terry McDermott produced the goal of the season in the midst of a hectic FA Cup semi-final against Merseyside rivals Everton at Main Road.
McDermott. Oh, that was beautiful! And Terry McDermott has chipped the goalkeeper.
A delightful piece of skill by McDermott, who left the Everton goalkeeper David Lawson stranded. A few weeks later, McDermott would score again in the European Cup final. Nottingham Forest followed Liverpool as champions of England and Europe, but it was in a First Division match against Arsenal that Archie Gemmell won the BBC prize.
Pat Rice, the Arsenal captain, knowing full well that all they need is a goal. Ah, that's Gemmell, he really stole that with... He's got support from Woodcock in the middle. There's 2 against 2. Gemmell's arrived all the way from the back. And With hasn't seen him. He has now. 2-0.
That was a towering season for the little midfield man, because when Gemmell went with Scotland to the 1978 World Cup finals in Argentina, he produced an even better goal against Holland.
Kennedy.
There's an argument going on with the referee, between Rioch and the referee, who just wants to get on with it. Gemmell. Good play by Gemmell, and again. 3-1! A brilliant individual goal by this hard little professional has put Scotland in dreamland. The miracle is beginning to happen. They need one more to qualify. And Gemmell, first one, then two. Then he faced up his own player and another defender. He was clear, and finishing like this is lethal.
Unfortunately for Gemmell, Scotland still went out, but his goal was voted the best in that World Cup. In 1979, as Liverpool regained the championship, Ray Kennedy scored the goal of the season at Derby.
So still 1-0. Still Greenwood and Caskey battling there up front, but without too much success on the long ball like that. Here's McDermott. Ray Kennedy, oh, what a brilliant run by Ray Kennedy! Oh, what a marvellous goal! What an absolutely choice goal! Well, that was championship material. No doubt at all. Terry McDermott delivered the pass and it was a killer. But what about the way Ray Kennedy finished it off? He just waltzed through, sold the goalkeeper, and that is 2-0 to Liverpool in the 71st minute. A goal that had class and quality written all over it.
I must ask you about your goal, because you scored a goal here 2 years ago, which all our grandstand viewers see every Saturday at the beginning of the programme, and now another one today at the same end, but I think even more pleasing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoyed this one today because the score was still 1-0, and this one basically killed Derby off, but I was really pleased with it because I'd run in late from behind, and Terry McDermott had hit a low cross and intercepted and expected a tackle off one of their players, but fortunately I just nipped in before him, and there I was with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper didn't come out, so it gave us a little bit of time to compose myself, and it went in. Great. Well pleased, John, yeah.
I once attributed the word power to Everton, and some of their supporters thought I was being rude to them, but really it was admiration, as it is for Liverpool, who are so full of power in many ways, and power is a useful asset to have in a side. For instance, just look at this. It's like an arrow. A lesser player would make sure and float it. He drives it through, barely 2 or 3 feet off the floor at the most. Kennedy comes in there, wriggles his way round the goalkeeper and presents himself with an open goal. But power of kicking is one of the features of all the Liverpool players for me.
Into the 80s now, and Justin Fashanu of Norwich City marked the new decade with a scorcher of a goal against Liverpool at Carrow Road. It came out of nothing.
Ryan, Fashanu. Oh, what a goal! Oh, that's a magnificent goal! Didn't seem to be the room between Ray Clements' hand and the post. And John Bond still wants to make a defensive point and cover as the crowd applauds. Surely one of the best goals I've seen at Carrow Road this season.
Fashanu's turn and shot on the volley was among the finest goals seen on Match of the Day. An obvious choice for goal of the season as the competition grew in popularity. In 1981, when Aston Villa won the championship for the first time in 71 years, Tony Morley's goal against Everton at Goodison Park was voted the BBC's first choice.
Here's Tony Morley. Good running by him. Oh, what a great goal!
The other contenders for goal of the season were introduced by Jimmy Hill.
Well, now for the 1981 BBC Goal of the Season competition, and it's a compliment to the Football League that the standard is clearly higher than ever, starting with goal A, scored by Ian Edwards for Wrexham at Derby County.
Cartwright. Sutton coming behind Cartwright. And Edwards shot off! That is a marvellous goal!
Dalglish. Oh, nicely played by Johnson to Terry McDermott. And a little chip from McDermott. And what a lovely goal. Wharton. Played in for Cartwright. Nutton's tackle. There's Fillery. Lee, this first-time football of Chelsea's a joy to watch. There goes Walker. Oh, he's got a player free on this side if he can find him. Chivers! What a tremendous run from the back by Gary Chivers. Well, you can feel the tension, but you can see the quality of football. Again, the wind helped a bit then. There's Brazil. There's Miller! Watch.
Oh, what a spectacular effort it is there! Terry Cochrane scores one of the most spectacular goals of the season.
Williams. And here's Tony Morley. Good running by him. Oh, what a great goal!
Oh, a lovely ball on by Shannon. Oh, Golak! What a magnificent goal by the Yugoslav!
Helped on by Darasilia, and good running from the back from Chivadze, this big sweeper. What a good player he looks. Chivadze, oh, I say, that's a brilliant goal.
What a fantastic volley by Garth Brooks.
Here's Villa. Villa shots, up, and Ricky Villa produces another marvellous moment for Spurs.
The competition was already decided by the time Villa produced an even better goal in the final itself.
And still Ricky Villa. What a fantastic run. He scored. Amazing goal. Spurs are in front again, and look what happened here. The big man from Argentina went round 1, 2, 3. Joe Corrigan came to block, and Villa squeezed it in.
That goal won the FA Cup, and the following season it was in that same competition that Cyril Regis hit the headlines, playing for West Bromwich Albion against Norwich City. This was the goal of the season for 1981-82.
Statham coming to meet the goal kick. Walford's header. Here's Robertson. Regis taking it well on the chest, and a lovely piece of control by Regis. Oh, and what a great shot! Oh, one of the goals of the season. Cyril Regis. What a way to end a barren spell. Cyril Regis, who's gone 7 games without a goal, scores an absolute beauty. He took the ball on his chest, turned beautifully, went forward, and the shot was absolutely devastating. 24 minutes gone, Cyril Regis gets his first goal since Boxing Day, and it was worth the wait.
Some goals were worth their weight in gold, and many of them came from a man who scored over 100 both in England and in Scotland, Kenny Dalglish. He also scored 30 in international football.
Archibald turns back to find Graham Souness. He's looking to knock it forward. Picks out Dalglish, and a marvellous turn inside the defender. Steps around another. Oh, and into the top corner. A stunning individual goal by Kenny Dalglish.
This piece of sheer impudence from the peerless Dalglish came in a European Championship qualifier in Brussels, one of a record 102 appearances he made for his country. It was the goal of the season for 1982-83. The following season, the award was won by a goal scored against Dalglish's club Liverpool, a spectacular effort by Danny Wallace of Southampton.
Right.
Worthington. Beautifully done. And Wright has moved up to the far post for the return. And Gobble changed his mind. Wallace! Oh, I say! What a magnificent goal! Brilliant goal by Wallace. Lovely ball by Worthington. Fine cross by Dennis. But Mark Wright, who started it, was the fellow who got the nod down. But this was brilliant.
It was not only brilliant, but also the best of many strong contenders in the first season the BBC covered league football live.
Pencils at the ready. Here are the 10 goals, starting with goal A, Glenn Hoddle's goal for Tottenham at Watford.
Brooke. Hoddle with a beautiful piece of skill. What a magnificent goal by Glenn Hoddle.
Goal B, scored by Kenny Dalglish for Liverpool at Arsenal.
That's a fine ball. Hansen to Rush. They seem to find angles other teams don't appreciate. Lee. Dalglish. Lee again. Robinson. Back heel to Dalglish, surely. Yes, it was. It's on here. And Dalglish has scored. A quite magnificent goal.
Goal C, scored by Mark Walters for Aston Villa at Spartak Moscow.
Down to Walters. Oh, that's a brilliant way to beat your marker. And he's found the finish to cap it.
Goal D, scored by Kenny Dalglish for Liverpool at Ipswich.
Dalglish. He's got it! That's the goal that Kenny Dalglish wanted.
Goal E, scored by Ian Rush for Liverpool at Aston Villa.
And Liverpool have got a player over here in this attack. This is Souness. And Nicol is the man coming in for the header. And Rush was on the far side. Oh, what a tremendous shot.
Goal F, scored by Nigel Callaghan for Watford at Notts County.
Riley. Johnston again. Always looks to attack, and he's pushed a good ball forward there to Johnston. Wide of him is Callaghan with a drive. Marvellous shot by Nigel Callaghan.
Goal G, scored by Danny Wallace for Southampton against Liverpool.
Right. Worthington. Beautifully done. And Wright has moved up to the far post for the return. And Gobble changed his mind. Wallace! Oh, I say! What a magnificent goal!
Goal H, scored by Andy Peake for Leicester City against Watford.
Peake. 3 runners ahead of him. Oh, I say, what a cracking goal!
Goal I, scored by Eric Gates for Ipswich at Liverpool.
Sunderland had time to turn and look up. Nice ball into Davray. Here's Gates. Oh, that's a tremendous goal!
And finally, goal J, scored by Ian Rush for Liverpool at Dinamo Bucharest.
That was Lee's corner and headed out as far as Souness. That looks a good ball. He's onside and it's Ian Rush here. And it's there. Liverpool in front. And Ian Rush again, his 40th of the season.
Goal of the season had now become part of Match of the Day's structure. Danny Wallace was not to know that 10 years later his younger brother Rodney would win the award. But the following season, 1984-85, the winner came in the heat of a Merseyside derby, one of the most explosive goals to mark the long-established fixture between Liverpool and Everton. It was to be Everton's championship year, and they couldn't have made a better statement than Graham Sharp's at Anfield.
Reed. Stevens. Looking for Sharp, and he got behind Lawrence, and there did Sharp! What a fantastic goal! An unbelievable finish from Graham Sharp. And the Evertonians have gone berserk. I haven't seen a goal quite like that in a Merseyside derby for years. absolutely marvellous to see him get behind the defender and then take it first time on the volley, giving Grobbelaar no chance. One of the goals of the season from the Everton number 9.
Match of the Day paid the goal special attention.
It all exploded for Everton, though, just before 4 o'clock, when a very special goal by any standards by Graham Sharp won the game for them. And those of you who write saying that modern goalkeepers advance too far will be rubbing their hands with glee at Grobbelaar's position. But that view discounts the saves and interceptions that are made by goalkeepers advancing in that way. It could be said, though, that such was the velocity of Sharp's volley that it would have gone in wherever the keeper had stood. A match-winning goal, if ever there was one.
And a deserved winner of the Goal of the Season accolade. A year later, the competition was just as intense. 8 outstanding goals were selected on the shortlist for 1985-86, and there were some famous names among the scorers: Ian Rush, Brian Robson, Frank Stapleton. But the foreign imports were still figuring too, with Jesper Olsen and Johnny Method both making the final cut. The first goal came from Liverpool's record scorer.
We're into the last quarter of an hour. Nicol, Walsh, always looks capable of setting something up for Liverpool. Craig Johnston's cross. Rush! Yes!
Goal B scored by Jesper Olsen, his second for Manchester United against Nottingham Forest.
Goodman to Whiteside. Stapleton. Strachan. Good cross and a chance for Olsen.
Goal C scored by Gordon Davis for Manchester City against Watford.
Well, it's certainly a crisp, competitive cup tie. It needs a goal, actually, as far as the neutral is concerned, but Phillips is trying to release Lillis, and City have a chance. And Davis! The goal it needed has arrived, and Gordon Davis scores.
Goal D, Brian Robson's first for England in Israel.
Robson, yes! Totally unmarked for a crucial goal for his country to celebrate his 50th cap.
Goal E scored by Frank Stapleton for Manchester United at West Ham.
Hughes. Strachan. Oh, a lovely ball. Oh, what a great goal by Frank Stapleton.
Goal F scored by Glenn Cockerill for Southampton at Brighton.
Oh, now, can Southampton break here? This is Townsend. Well, he could have gone right or left. He's picked out Cockerill. Oh, and he's danced all the way through and planted it into Brighton's net.
Goal G scored by Steve McMahon for Liverpool against Manchester City.
And Liverpool are living a little dangerously, perhaps. Having said that, they're perfectly capable of going down to the Kop end and making it 2-0. Hansen, Dalglish, here's Mulvey, and now Johnston, and he fires it across. McMahon! He's got his second.
Goal H scored by Johnny Method for Nottingham Forest against West Ham.
The big Dutch international gives himself a long run. Oh, and didn't he drive it well? What an amazing free kick by the Dutchman.
In World Cup year, it was fitting that the goal of the season should be scored by the England captain. Brian Robson scored 26 times as a midfield player for his country, but it's doubtful whether he struck a better volley than the one which helped win a friendly in Israel. Curiously, it was hit with his weaker foot, but it had all the textbook qualities: eye on the ball, perfect balance, unerring accuracy. The goal of the season, 1986. Now a header, and a memorable one too. It came in the FA Cup final of 1987, and it was delivered by Keith Houchin of Coventry City when his team were 2-1 down to Tottenham at Wembley. It gave Coventry the impetus to go on and win the cup.
Regis, Houchin, Bennett. Houchin! Brilliant goal! Keith Houchin, the man with the Midas touch in the FA Cup, strikes goal for Coventry. A wonderful header. David Bennett out on the right wing against Mitchell Thomas. A good cross bent in and a diving header by Keith Houchin. What a lovely goal to match the one by Alan earlier.
It was the first time ever that a header had been voted goal of the season. In 1987-88, Liverpool under Kenny Dalglish won the championship and monopolised the goal of the season competition.
And Aldridge releasing Nicol on the far side, Beardsley in the middle. It's still Nicol, he's gone all the way, and that is the hat-trick. Barnes won it. He won it from Brock. He's got Beardsley going to his left. It's still Barnes. That's a fabulous individual goal. Barnes. Oh, lovely back heel. McMahon, Aldridge, good challenge. Beardsley! Oh, that's a lovely goal. That's a lovely goal. Now that was Barnes looking for Nicol. Barnes took on Caesar. Still Barnes, brilliant. Houghton couldn't convert. McMahon, three in the way. Tony Adams got a foot to it. Well, McMahon won that back wonderfully well. Beardsley. Oh, a goal for Aldridge. What about McMahon's contribution there? Absolutely fantastic. Spackman. Aldridge. Beardsley. Oh, brilliantly done by Peter Beardsley. Barnes. Oh, well played. Good return by Beardsley. Aldridge is there. Houghton's there. It's a goal for Liverpool. McMahon! Oh, I say, that's got to be one of the best goals of the season, even by Liverpool standards. Liverpool calling on all their hardened experience as Forest start the second half in the ascendancy, but this is what happened before. Barnes. Aldridge is there. Aldridge! And exactly the same again. Liverpool come out of defence and snatch a vital goal. Beardsley up. He seems to be able to find space and find Aldridge. And that is another superb Liverpool goal. Against Chettle. Oh, look at Barnes here. They're waiting for the pullback. Beardsley! Oh! A glorious goal again.
10 special goals from Liverpool made the first choice difficult. But it was John Aldridge's volley in the FA Cup semi-final against Nottingham Forest that came out on top. It was a real pearler from a man who scored 400 goals in his first-class career. There was only one way for Aldridge to better that, and he did it the following year by scoring the goal of the season in the final itself. It came after just 4 minutes at Wembley against Merseyside rivals Everton.
This is Nicol looking for McMahon. Good through ball. He got away from Ratcliffe. Oh, and John Aldridge in a great position. And Liverpool have scored.
A cup final goal again in 1990. Ian Wright, who'd twice broken his leg during that season, came on as a substitute for Crystal Palace against Manchester United, with his team 2-1 down.
Now here's Wright, his first chance to show what he can do. And he's through. It's Wright. Oh, what an impact by the substitute. It's 2-2. And it's Ian Wright who has sent the Palace supporters into ecstasy.
Ecstatic was a word easily applicable to Paul Gascoigne when he dragged Tottenham Hotspur to Wembley almost single-handed in 1991. Gazza's greatest moment came in the semi-final against North London rivals Arsenal.
Mabbutt has gone forward with Stewart to the right, Lineker and Howells to the left. Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, I say! Brilliant! That is schoolboy's own stuff. Oh, I bet even he can't believe it. Is there anything left from this man to surprise us? That was one of the finest free kicks that this stadium has ever seen. Seaman got his hands, couldn't hold. Spurs have the lead. Paul Gascoigne, the scorer.
What a pity that injury would haunt Gascoigne for the next few years. 1992 was the year of the Thomases, and there was no doubting either of their goals. The veteran Mickey Thomas stung league champions Arsenal with a knockout blow in the FA Cup third round.
A free kick, just on the edge of the penalty area. It's the captain, Mickey Thomas. It's Thomas who takes it. Oh, what a goal, Mickey Thomas! He's done it, the magic little man at the venerable age of 37 has produced a sensational goal. Oh, could you imagine a free kick struck sweeter than that and at a more important time? Seaman had no chance. It was right up into that top corner. He hit it right through the gap.
And Mickey's namesake Michael struck for Liverpool against Sunderland at Wembley.
Knocked out wide to McManaman, who is indeed starting on the right-hand side this time. Takes on Atkinson, gets past him, and flips it into Michael Thomas. Thomas's shot! Oh, that's a fine goal! Graham Souness looks on in admiration, and in the second minute of the second half, Liverpool have taken the lead in the cup final, and McManaman, who Trevor Brookings said would do more damage on the right than on the left, got the ball in, and Michael Thomas swung his right foot, and that goes down as one of the best cup final goals. Beautifully delivered, and what about this?
The 1992-93 season saw the return of Match of the Day in its original form.